Hi everyone, welcome back to Custom Bait Works. Today on the bench what we have here is we have a 70 millimeter X-Rap blank. I've already got it primed up in gray and I have the bill already taped up and ready to go. So to accomplish this paint job that we'll be doing today is called Smokey Shad. It's one of my originals. It's really been a good fish catcher for me. We basically need 5 colors here today. What we're going to use is we're going to use some chartreuse. We're going to use a little bit of orange for the throat. This is a custom color that I mix up that I call Black Flash. Basically what it is, it's a dark copper. It's a black with a copper fleck is basically what it is in there. It's a really pretty paint. It goes on the baits. It really gives it some shine. You'll see it here. And then I also use bone. So the other color that we'll be using is a little bit of black. Got my gloss black here. I forgot to bring it here, but we're using that just for the shad dot and maybe some little bit of fill in here. So let's get our paint loaded up into the gun and get started. Alrighty, our first color up today will be bone. Got it loaded up into the brush here. I'm using a 0.3 millimeter tip on my airbrush, and I have the pressure set at about 25 pounds PSI. So what we'll do here is we'll just start laying that first coat on here. This is my base coat, so it'll probably take 2 to 3 coats of cover. We'll see how we do today, but let's go ahead and get started here. Let's get that bottom real good. Flip it over here and hit the other side. There we go. There's our first coat of bone. Looks like it's covering pretty well. I'm going to heat set it and we'll be right back for the second coat. Alrighty, we got our heat set it first coat done here. Looking like it's covering pretty well. Still light in some areas, so we definitely need a second coat. So we'll get the gun out here, start from the top. Work our way down. Get some there on the sides. Let's flip her over here. On the top there, and then we'll hit the side here on this side here as well. There, let me get it turned around here. There we go. Let's take a look at the underside of it here. Let's get a little, it's hard to get that shot here, but it's a little bit light around the throat area. Same thing on the other side here. Hit the bottom. Alright, let's see how it looks here. Then I've got a pretty good coating there on that. It's definitely turning bone like it's supposed to. You know, really the key here, guys, is to make sure you're putting on light coats. So, you know, especially around like when you get to these gill areas, around the eyes, any features that are on the baits that are stuck out from the body of the bait, that's a really good, easy area to get a run in. So I always make sure I don't hit those areas too heavily, and I always try to hit them really light, and you get a nice, even coat of paint that way. Don't get too much buildup around those gill, the eye areas. But looking pretty good. We're going to heat set this, and we'll come back and see if we need a third coat. Alright, our second coat is heat set here, and taking a look at the bait here. Make sure you guys can come here and see it. It's a little bit light in the throat area and the back tail area. It's kind of a little bit light. So I do think we need to get a third coat to make sure we got good coverage on this one. So let's go ahead and apply a light third coat to this one, and that should be it for the bone, and we can move on to the next color. So Starting at the top, working my way down. Come down here on the side, working from the front to the back. Like I said, right here, make sure this bottom is covered really well. Around those gills. Looks pretty good on that side. At this side of the bait again. There we go. Let's get over to our bottom. There we go. Let's see how that looks. Looking pretty good. I'm going to heat set that, and then we'll move on to the next paint color. Alrighty, we got our 3 coats of bone. Heat set on the bait here is looking really nice. Got really good coverage of that bone on those 3 coats that we did. Very, very light coats to make sure we don't get any drips and runs. It's looking really good. So what our next color up is going to be chartreuse. And my plan here is to cover the top third of the bait in chartreuse. Is I just kind of like want to run it up here about halfway through the eye, up here on the shoulder, about a third of the way up here on the shoulder, and down here to the tail. I do like to wrap the chartreuse around the tip of the tail. It just gives that profile on the back of the bait when it's there. The fish is following it. Gives them a little chartreuse on the back side to help them hopefully follow that bait and hit it. So what I've done here is I've lowered my gun to about 20 pounds PSI because I want to move closer into the bait here because I'm working, to get a very fine line here. So we'll start here. Probably only need 2 coats of this. So here we go. So you see there, you got that nice chartreuse line there right on the top of that shoulder there, about halfway there in the eye. So let's turn it around here and we'll do the other side. Got it set up there nice. All right. So go down the back very lightly. Let's see how we did here. Let's take a good look down there, see if it looks even on both sides. It looks pretty good to me. Now I just want to get a little bit around the tip of that tail. Same thing on the other side. Very lightly. It's looking really, really good. I'm gonna get a little bit more on the bottom side of that tail there. It's a hard shot to get for you guys. There we go. So back in the frame here. So there we are. So we got that on that top third of the bait there. We got that chartreuse laid nicely. Got some, like I said, around the base of that tail there as well, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat set this, and we'll move on to the third color, and we'll get on to showing you guys how to do some scale patterns here. Alrighty, we just got that first coat of chartreuse heat set, and tell you the truth, it's looking pretty good. I don't think there's any reason for a second coat. Did exactly what I wanted to. I got that top third of the bait painted and covered, as you see there. On the other side, up there on that shoulder. So we're looking really good here. So I moved on to the next color here. What we got here lowered up in the gun is our black flash here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do a gill pattern down that top shoulder of the bait there where we put that chartreuse. So that chartreuse is going to be the color that kind of shows through, and this black flash will be the color that kind of covers that top here. And what I like to do is I got here, believe it or not, all this is right here, this is a shower loofah. That's all that is right there inside of that net. I ordered these off of Amazon. I got some I think they're called embroidery hoops if I remember correctly. Got them off of Amazon. Then I just stretched a piece of literally a piece of, the shower loofahs or whatever you call them, the little scrunchy things you use in the shower. Works really well. There's several different ones I have, different types of meshes and everything else for different types of scales, but on the Smokey Shad, I like these bigger scales on it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this and we're going to place it on that top shoulder there. And you see I got it kind of loose there where I can go around it. Make sure it's nice and firm. I got the black flash loaded up into the gun, and what I've done here is I turned it down to about 10 pounds of pressure only. When we're shooting through a stencil, you always want to turn your pressure down. So again, I'm going to try to follow that same line as I did with the chartreuse, and I'm going to use this black flash on it here. So let's get to spraying. All right, really nice fine coat right there. And very carefully lift off. And voila, look what we got there. Got a nice scale pattern going down that side of the bait there. So what we'll want to do is we'll heat set that, and I'll move on to the second side. Okay, now we're going to move over and do the other side of the bait. Got that side heat set it. So get ourselves set up here. I took the blow dryer and I also made sure I blow dried off my stencil here as well. It's very important. You want to make sure you don't have any wet paint on there before you go to place it on the other side. So I'll just get it lined up here again. There we go. Like that. Oops. Got it there where I like it. Get that top shoulder. Lift it off. There we go. We got it on our other side there now. So looking pretty good. Now what I want to do is I want to go in and I want to darken up this back here. I don't want that mesh pattern to be all the way around like that. So what we'll do here is we'll take our black flash. Still got it same PSI. It's at right around 10 pounds. And we'll start darkening in this top end. Looking pretty good. So what I want to do now here is I want to darken it around the eye a little bit and around the nose too here. So let's go here and again, I got that pressure set at 10 pounds so I can kind of come in here and get really close, not have that paint splatter all over the place. Looking pretty good there. Looks like a pretty good scale pattern on that side. Liking it, liking it. Alrighty, let's go ahead and darken it around our other eye over here. Get this up here where you see it. Alright, well, still at 10 pounds of pressure. Darken it around that eye a little bit. Make sure that nose is covered. Work it up here a little bit on that shoulder, up there behind the eye. Do the same thing over here on this side. Let's see how we did there. Looking pretty good, I'd say. Looking pretty good, I'd say. So what we'll do now is we'll heat set that, and then last step will be putting the shad dot on, and then we'll be ready to put our final top coating on. Alrighty, we go ahead and heat set that black flash. Looking pretty good there. I don't say so myself. Got it darkened up around the eye there. Like I said, you got some of that chartreuse showing through. That's what I was talking about. That chartreuse is kind of what shows through on the mesh, and it doesn't really pop. You know, it's not so chartreuse, if you will. Like I said, it just kind of shows through a little bit of that chartreuse where that gill pattern is. Really, really like it. Looking good. So what we're going to do next is the throat. I kind of forgot about the orange here in the throat, so we'll get it kind of positioned up, and we'll add an orange throat to this one. I still got the gun set at about 10 pounds of pressure, and what we want to do is we want to come in here and put a little orange on that throat and kind of bring it up maybe just a little tiny bit past that hook there. So guns loaded up, 10 pounds of pressure, and here we go. So let me get a little better position. See how we did there. See, we're looking pretty good there. So we'll have a little bit of orange there on the throat, and we'll have that chartreuse tail showing through there as well. Kind of like dipping it and spike it, you know, and having that chartreuse tail there. So we're looking pretty good. I'm going to heat set that orange, and then we'll move on to the shad dot, and then we'll be ready to put it on the eyes and go to top coating. Alrighty, so we went ahead and we heat setted our orange there and bring it in closer here. So you see here on our throat here we have that nice orange there, works up a little bit on the side. Still got our chartreuse there at the tail. Looking pretty good, I think. So what we'll do now is we'll put on our shad dot. What I have here is just a little template that I cut out. Just have a piece of Lexan hole puncher and just ran some painter's tape around it. And this is what I use to put on my shad dot with. I got a couple different sizes, but this is the one I selected today. So what we'll do here is we'll place this up here. Try to figure out, I'm gonna come about middle of this fin right here, and I'm gonna try to come up at about the center of the bait. All right, I should be pretty good there. Got my black loaded up in the gun. Still have the pressure sitting around 10 pounds, and very, very lightly. You want to get close so you don't get any overspray on the bait. And what you want to do here is just very, very lightly hit this black in there. So get some air running through that gun and just a little bit of pressure. Boom, there it is. Before I take that off, I'm just going to take my hair dryer, heat set that real quick. Let's see how we did. Looks pretty good. So right there in about the middle of that fin there is like where I usually line up, and about dead center of the bait. So let's try to see if we can get close on the other side of the same area. That always drives me nuts if my shad dots are really off. So I try to make sure they're centered up on both sides. So about the middle of that fin again, middle of the bait, about where the lateral line would be. Yeah, I say we're pretty close there. So 10 pounds of pressure, get in here close, very, very lightly. Boom. Just like that. I'm gonna heat set it. There we go. So how do we do there? I think they're pretty close to even on the sides there. Did pretty good. So next up is we'll super glue in the eyes in and get ready to go for top coating. Alrighty, now for the eyes, I selected a nice golden eye for this one. I think this gold eye will look really good on this bait here. And what I've done here is I put a little bit of super glue back here on a piece of painter's tape, and I like to, you know, use a toothpick, use a metal rod, whatever you got. I have a little metal rod here, but what I like to do is I like to take that super glue and dip it in there, and then just put a dot right there where that eye is. You know, if you squeeze it right out of the tube, sometimes you can get a uncontrollable dot. You know, might squeeze over. I've been there and done that, so I'm kind of trying to show you guys some things from experience. Like I said, you know, from many times I squeezed that tube and a big blob came out and ruined a paint job. So my advice is do like I do. Put a piece of painter's tape down, put your super glue on that, and then apply your super glue to the bait. So let's get one of these eyes. Let's get it off here. We'll stick her in place here. Get in there. Oh yeah, Really like the way that gold eye looks in that bait. Let's turn it over and do the other side. Again, just take my stick here, little dot of super glue, put it on there. As you can see, there's a little bit of a dot there. Off there. There we go. There it is. Looking pretty good here. So next thing we'll do is we'll take that tape off the bill there and we'll get ready to go into our epoxy coating. Alright, now we're ready for the final top coating here, and what we're going to do here is I got 2 paper clips, I got our bait that we just got done painting, and I have my jar of epoxy top coating there. That's kind of a mix there. I use the KBS, I believe it's called, that you get from Amazon. It's a top coating there, and I thin mine down quite a bit with xylene. And just a little tip for you here is I use my old glove to keep it from sticking. So we'll get that there, get that ready to go. And what I'll do with my well, let's move that out of the way for a quick second here. I'll show you here how to get ready to do this part here. So what you want to do here is take your paper clip. I normally leave the big side bent out there like that at a 45-degree angle. Then you have the smaller side down here. And what I like to do with that smaller side is I will nose hook it right through the front of the bait there. Then I'll close it like that. As you can see there, it's closed. So when I go here and dip it, it won't come off and then start floating around in my jar full of epoxy here. So let's go ahead and move the jar back in here. And this is when the bait's really gonna pop. So patience is key here, guys. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take our bait, we're going to slowly lower it down into that epoxy, let it sit there for a couple seconds, and then slowly, to try to prevent bubbles here, you want to slowly bring it out. So sit there and let it drip off a little bit. Then what we're going to do with this other paper clip, which I should have already done, but I messed up, basically bend it out in the same way. But what I do this time is I straighten out the long side, and where that smaller side is here, is I put a little bend in it here, straighten it up to where it looks something like this here. You see here, it's just got the little side there that's out at about a 45-degree angle, then the other side's pretty straight. And what you want to do here, you see this is still dripping here, is you want to run that through the bottom hole of that bait, the bottom hook, like that. So we'll move this out of the way. And so what that does for you is that as this drip dries, I call it a drip tail, and that'll make that epoxy not set up around that bottom hook. And as you see, it kind of hits that paper clip and then runs off and drips from the paper clip instead of building up around that bottom hook area. Another little tech tip for you there. So we'll go ahead and we'll hang this thing. It takes about 2 to 3 hours, depending on the temperature, for this epoxy to kind of become tack free. I normally leave it sitting for about 2 days before I ever even put on any hooks or anything like that, just to give it full time to cure. But I think we did a pretty good job today. Very happy with the way this comes out. Hope you guys like it too. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back next week with another episode. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate you.